So I'll tell you the way that I sold the MCG, and I talked about it briefly at the start of the day. So what ended up happening, I read that book, The 1 Minute Millionaire, and it talked about Paul Hartunian, this guy who sold the Brooklyn Bridge. So I was driving past the MCG after reading that book, and I noticed they were doing a whole lot of construction on the MCG. And it was almost like a light bulb moment. Fireworks went off in my mind. I thought, oh, this is perfect. It's almost like a gift from the gods. And I started counting my money already in my head. I'm sitting there going, oh, I'll make millions. Because Paul Hartunian, when he did this for selling the Brooklyn Bridge, he had the media hound him for like 6 months afterwards, and he sold millions and millions of dollars worth of just little pieces of the Brooklyn Bridge. So I'd driven past the MCG, got this idea, and then I thought, right, I'm going to get in touch with the wreckers, the people who pulled apart the MCG. And what they were doing, they were pulling down the Ponsford stand, and the green wooden seating, it's very synonymous with the old MCG. They used to have this painted green wooden seating. And they also had carpet with the MCC crest on it, the Melbourne Cricket Club crest. It's very iconic. And they were doing the demolition, and they were getting rid of all of this. And not being the sharpest tack in the box, the first thing that I did is I thought, I'm going to sell the bricks from the MCG. So I went to the people who were doing the demolition and I said, oh, can I buy some of these bricks? Which probably isn't the smartest thing. It would have killed me on shipping. You can imagine what it would have been like mailing a brick, but I was thinking you could own a brick from the MCG, which I thought would have been kind of cool. But then when I got there, I was talking to the guy and I just gave him a little sort of snippet of what I was planning, and he said, oh, you might want to go talk to Will and the Wreckers because they got all of the wood and they got the carpet and that type of thing. So I ended up going to Will and the Wreckers, bought a whole bunch of wood, borrowed $1,000, filled up Dad's car with all of the green wooden seating, took a roll of the carpet, and they had a whole bunch more of the carpet, only I'd filled up the car. So I said, I'm going to come back tomorrow, can you just hold it all for me? I'll come back and get it tomorrow. So he said, yep, no worries, who's going to come and buy, enough carpet to sort of fill out a basketball court? You'd think not anyone. So I went home that night, went back the next day, and he goes, oh, you'll never believe it. Someone came in and bought all of the remaining carpet. And he said, oh, but it's okay, because he just said he was going to use it to line his pool room floor. So it was like, I don't know, I just imagine some rich dude who thought, yeah, I'll put it in the games room and that'll be kind of cool. So I didn't really think too much of it. I went up to, there was a photo earlier on, and I'll tell you a bit more about the Brad Sugars Billionaire in Training boot camp that I went to, but I flew up to Brisbane for that. I got everything ready. I got the press releases all written. It was going to be, Melbourne Man sells MCG for $24.95. And my plan was to take all of the bits of wood and cut them into little slithers, and I stuck them onto certificate paper that I bought from Officeworks, and I got the carpet and we framed up the carpet, and we were going to sell them for $700. So it was like, the front end, very cheap product to get them interested, the $24.95, and then upsell the high end product. And so I got everything all ready, flew up to Brisbane to do this workshop. While I was up there, I got a phone call from a friend, a couple of them actually, because I told them what I was going to do just before I left, and they said, did you tell anyone about this idea about selling the MCG? And I'm like, no, what are you talking about? And they said, you won't believe it, but someone else the same age as you had the same idea, and they're doing it right now. So as you can imagine, I was almost like, I feel sick just thinking about it now. Like at the time, I remembered how gutted I felt. I was like, this was my one-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and it's just been snatched out from underneath me. At the time, there's nothing I could do. I was up there, I'd booked into this boot camp. I think it cost me like $6,000 to go to this week-long event, and the last thing I wanted to do was come home. So once the boot camp ended, I came back home, and I found out, there was another guy, 21. I think the media might have got a little bit confused because I thought, I don't care. I'm still going to send these press releases out. I'm going to run with it as hard as I can. And I still got picked up by the Today Show and Nova Radio, Herald Sun, a whole bunch of different places picked it up. And I think because he was 21 as well, and I was 21, they just kind of got confused and they thought we were the same person or something like that. So that was obviously one of the photos. It's quite funny. The guy that I've actually who sold the MCG, I kept on bumping into him at different workshops and things like that. So we actually became quite good friends. His name's Pete Williams, and we go rock climbing together, and I ended up actually just moving recently into his office, and he's a good dude. It's quite funny. My girlfriend met him, and she's like, oh, I never thought there was anyone else out there like you, but there's another one just like you. So he's a similar personality. But so how did I end up doing that? And I got some good media there. So to get the TV, what I did is I wrote that press release that I just talked about. Think about the hook there. You want to know, how did a Melbourne man sell the MCG for $24.95, especially when Australia is such a sports-mad nation, and selling the MCG, our most iconic sports stadium in Australia. So I wrote the press release, I sent it out, I did it good old-fashioned old school. I didn't do it via PR web or anything like that, which I'll show you a little bit later, some of the more online press release services. I just sent it off to, you can go to some of the different newspapers and they'll have their editorial emails, and you email it through to them. So I sent it through, and that ended up getting me the spot on the Today Show. Then I also started doing editorial ads. So in MX Magazine, which is a little trashy magazine that they give out on the trains, I ran these little ads, but by editorial, they didn't look like an ad. I made it look like an article, so it looked like, Melbourne man sells the MCG for $24.95, and it was written and formatted just like the rest of the MX, so it looked like an actual article in there. So I ran that, and then the Herald Sun picked it up, and then from the Herald Sun, then it went on to Nova, and the rest of the media happened from there. So the reason I tell you that story is so you can see, to get the media attention that you want to get picked up, typically speaking, I think it's going to be through an offline fashion. If you want to get reprinted in local news and things like that, you're better off distributing through some of those channels and not necessarily using things like PR web and some of the other online services. And it gives you a chance to connect with the reporters as well.